So, hello, everybody. This is our orientation to the class. So, as you know, we are all new to Canvas this semester. You've probably seen this in your other classes. So, as I learn more about it and identify different features to make it more helpful to you, I'll make little videos about it. For now, when you log into our course, you'll come to this page, which will start with our modules. And the modules are sort of like each week's work. So, week one, we begin here. You should always, when you enter the class, start with the announcements. I'll always post an announcement on Wednesdays going over quizzes and things like that and important information for the upcoming week. And I often post other announcements of important things that come up. And you'll be beginning always by going into these modules. So you'll see that you can expand or contract these modules by clicking. So if I click on the top gray screen, you'll see that it collapses it. So once you finish the work for this week, you can collapse the module and you can expand it when you're in the middle of the week. So each module is arranged in a number of pages. So right now I'm actually making these videos, so I won't take you through these pages, but instead I'm going to begin right here on number 2, read the syllabus, and show you how to navigate and talk to you about what this course is going to cover. We click this link and we can see, first off, you can download a printable version of the syllabus if you like that. This will take you to my Dropbox, and you don't need to download a Dropbox app or anything like that. You can just click through and download a printable copy of the syllabus if you like that. And to navigate through, you always want to go to these next buttons, and this will give you a nice, easy way to go through the course. So you'll come to the course basics then. We can see that we have 2 sections of this class. And so the section that's online only, those students don't need to attend any class at all. So all this content will be made available to you online, and you'll be taking part in discussions in a written format instead of by talking. But anyone who's interested, who's taking it online but would like to pop in for a class session is welcome. And you'll also have access to the recordings of the class session if you click on this Zoom link. And the synchronous students have already had an orientation, and that information is here. So my office hours are Wednesdays, 1:30 to 4 o'clock on Zoom, and I'll also be available often in my office, but that location has yet to be seen. And you can just come, what the office hours are is you can just click on here and a little bell rings on my computer and I answer your call. So it's a nice, easy way for you to get in touch with me. So you'll see in the course description that this is one of the most excellent courses you're going to take. It's so important and meaningful for all of you. We're going to be beginning with the formation of sperm and egg, beginning with genes and following the human life trajectory all the way through old age and even death and dying. And in that process, we're going to talk about how our thinking develops, how our language develops, and can we learn what happens in our brain when we learn a second language, and what about physical development? And are we always gaining and improving in skills? Or are we, sometimes gaining and sometimes losing? What about emotional? When do we learn to regulate emotion? And how do we learn to navigate our social worlds? What are those teen years all about? And how is our brain changing in the lifespan? And so we'll be covering every aspect of human life. And I say this is the most important course for all of you because in some ways it is. I wish this was required for every human being to understand a bit more about how people develop. And first off, because we're all humans, and the more we know about ourselves and our own development, the better. But secondly, because we're all of us going to be working with humans in some way. We're going to work with people at different developmental stages, people who are very old or maybe working with children. Some of us will become parents eventually and we'll be able to understand our own children, or we'll have other family members that we need to know about. And this class is going to help with all of that. It's one of my favorite classes to teach, and I hope to convey my enthusiasm to you, even if you're in the online setting. I'll give you your own time to read through the course objectives and goals. But in brief, we always try to approach our courses here within this paradigm of holistic teaching, these basic fundamental concepts of how everything is learned in the Navajo tradition. And then within that, we have certain objectives that we teach specifically about this content. So the textbook is a free one, very nice. And so you can get to the textbook by clicking this link. And I'm going to open it in a new tab by right-clicking. So when you come to the textbook, you can either download it. So if you click this link, you'll get a nice PDF of this textbook. And if you're someone who likes printed versions, you can just print it. And your only costs associated would be the costs of printing. If you've learned to navigate reading online on your tablet or something like that, this is also a convenient forum. And you'll see here that when you click on it, you can navigate in a couple ways. First, you can just go ahead and click through by going to the bottom of this screen and clicking. You'll see in this bar way at the bottom that there's a next option. And so it will go through one page at a time for you. But you can also go to the table of contents and you'll see all the chapters laid out. And if you click this plus sign, that's where you'll see those numbers that I wrote in the syllabus. And so you will be reading all of chapter 1, but sometimes I break it into 2 sections. And so sometimes you might want to know what these are. And so you can also navigate by clicking these links. Make sure you allocate enough time. You need to do the reading in this class. You need to do it before you can watch the lectures, and there's a mini quiz on the readings. So you have to be mindful and attentive in this class and take good notes. You'll need them. So communication. Email is the best way for me. The reason it's best is because if you send me an email with something about the class, I'll usually read it on my computer and I'll be able to address your concern. Whereas if you send me a text, which is not my favorite communication mode, I'm trying to deal with things on a tiny screen, and sometimes that can even be a little stressful. So I really do prefer email, especially with things that I might need to make changes. But texts and phone calls, in the case of an emergency, that's relevant too. So if you are on your way to class and you're supposed to be making a presentation and you get stuck in the mud, you should definitely call or text. So both of those are options. I think they should be used in appropriate times. I kind of have like a privacy boundary, you know, maybe 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I prefer not to deal with texts and phone calls outside of those hours. But I know sometimes there are emergencies, and I've already indicated to you about my office hours. You can also schedule with me by appointment. The times for my office hours are just when I'm going to be sitting in there waiting for you. But at other times, you can schedule a time with me either in person or via Zoom. So I'll be making announcements on Wednesdays. I mentioned that, and we'll have 2 discussion boards that you can use. One is frequently asked questions. I haven't taught this class since 2018. And I've never taught it here at Dene College. And so there may be some little fluky things that come up, like maybe there's a bad quiz question or something like that. And you can post that in FAQ. Sometimes things that are not clear to you are also unclear to other students, and then they would benefit by reading the same question. And then this WOW discussion, you know, for me, I'll hear a story on public radio, or I'll come across an article and I'll just find it interesting and I'll want to share it. And you might have the same thing happen to you. You can just post it there just for fun. None of these are required. They're just there for your benefit. So assignments and grading, you'll be graded in this class on your weekly work, which will include weekly quizzes, discussions, and then at the end here, you'll see these little mini quizzes on the reading. You'll be graded on exams, a midterm and a final, and you'll be graded on developmental project that we'll be doing in class, in which you're actually going to be conducting tasks with a participant of your choosing and analyzing the developmental stage based on their results. And so, and then you'll have a short final essay that'll be part of the final exam. That's just worth 5% of your grade. So you'll see that, you know, about 1/3 of your grade is based on your weekly work. A little more than a third, 40%, is based on exams, and 25% is based on your project and your final essay. So you need to be mindful of all of this. You can't pass the class without doing all of those pieces. The grading criteria are the same as typical: 90% for an A, 80 for a B, 70 for a C, 60 for a D, and fewer than 60% of the points or fewer than 600 points would be a failing grade. So due dates, timing, and late work. If you tuned into this syllabus before 7 a.m. on August 15th, you will have seen different things because I've modified the syllabus since then. So what I'm presenting to you here is a fairly final version of the syllabus. Some big changes in due dates. Assignment due dates are going to be due by noon Tuesday. And you'll earn bonus points that you can use to choose a question on the final exam to get credit for by turning in all your work for a given week before that due date. So I'll just allocate those points if you're on time. So your work is considered on time if it's submitted before noon Tuesday. A grace period, meaning the assignment will stay open 12 hours after that. So it'll stay open till midnight Tuesday, and then it won't reopen. So if you know you can't meet a deadline in advance of that deadline, please request permission from me in order for me to extend that timing for you. And if you submit after the noon time, then you don't get that bonus point. So you've got to make it by noon if you can. The reason is, for me, it really helps me to be able to grade things at once. It just goes faster. And so if everyone submits by noon, then I can get your work graded. I'm mostly going to be, as you'll see later, grading on Wednesdays. That's my promise. I'll grade by Wednesdays, but I'm probably going to have to start Tuesday afternoons because of the heavy course loads I'm carrying this term. And so that's why I need to have these due dates met. The modules, when will a module be available? So the online section, I'll post it before midnight Thursday. So it won't necessarily be up on Wednesday. I'll do my best, but I'll guarantee it by midnight Thursday. And for each module, you're going to need to read the chapter and then take a mini quiz. You won't be able to continue on until you take this mini quiz on your reading. So reading and taking notes first, then viewing the online lecture, then participate in the discussion, and then take a quiz. The synchronous classes are the same way, except that the mini quiz is taken at the start of class and the discussion is done in the class time. I'm going to be grading on Wednesdays. I might start on Tuesdays, however, so I need that work submitted. Multiple choice quizzes will be graded automatically and you'll get feedback. You'll have 2 attempts at the quizzes and I'll keep your average grade. I'll go over the answer to the quizzes the following Wednesday. And so that's why they have to be submitted by the due date. On the final projects, I'll provide feedback to you within a week of the due date. And you have to complete the modules in sequence. We're going through the lifespan in sequence, so you do need to complete them in sequence. And it looks like we jumped back to D, so I'm going to see what's going on with that because I think this should have come to the withdrawal policy. So I'm going to show you that in the regular syllabus and find out what went glitchy there. The next section that should have been present is this. Here we go, incomplete grades and withdrawals. If you are behind in class, if you've completed 75% of your work, and then you find that something major happened and you can't continue, you know, you're caring for someone or you've had some sort of accident, I can offer an incomplete if 75% of your work is done, and that's been done with a passing grade. And so I can withdraw students from the course if they're become invisible. And so it actually hinders the class when we have students who disappear, whose name keeps appearing, but who aren't participating. That can be sort of distressing to your classmates and so on. And so we'll want to make sure that I probably will drop you if I can't reach you. If there's no email, you don't respond to email, you don't participate for 3 weeks, and I contact you, I'll probably say, hey, we either have to meet or I need to drop you. So that's what that next section should be about. Academic integrity. It's really beneficial to help a classmate. It would be considered cheating to take anyone's writing. And that means a classmate's writing. It means your own writing from some other class. And of course, anything that you get online or through artificial intelligence and claiming it as your own, that's a violation of academic integrity, and it can result in a failing grade in class and a referral to the provost for further consideration. And just continuing through the last bit of this, we will be going through the lifespan in sequence. So we're going to begin with chapter 1, introducing lifespan development. You'll see that next week. And then we'll continue on to begin with heredity, genes, prenatal development, the birth process. We'll cover that over a couple of weeks, and then we'll begin chapter 3, infancy and toddlerhood. And so we're going to just continue like that through the lifespan. You'll note that we're going to have a midterm exam, and that the week after the midterm exam, we're going to have a health break with no assignments due, and no class being held. I may need to meet with your groups to prepare you for the project, and you will hear about that if that's the case. And then we'll continue on after that with the middle years and adolescence, emerging in adulthood. Presentations will be made the week of November 4 through 10. Papers will be due Friday at midnight, and then we'll end the course by continuing on to middle and late adulthood. So I'll keep you informed on everything you need to know about the schedule. So each week then, the last thing I'll talk to you about is what you're doing each week. And so you'll see the modules. This module is not available for you yet, but I want to show you the structure of it. So once you finish this first week of work, you in the online section meet and greet your group members and take the orientation quiz. Then you can minimize this chapter by clicking that arrow and go to chapter 1. And this is what each week will kind of look like. So first off, you'll have to go through these in sequence, but first you're going to be reading the chapter and taking this little mini quiz on the reading. And once you're done with the mini quiz, you'll have access to these lectures posted by midnight Thursday. So these are going to be lecture content. Then you'll join the discussion. So you'll see that posted here, and you'll take the quiz. Your initial discussion post will be by Saturday at midnight, and the discussion will close by Tuesday at noon. It'll close by midnight, but it'll be due. The final discussion post will be due Tuesday at noon. Anything after that will be considered. You will lose your bonus points if it's later than that. And so each week, that's what it'll look like. And hopefully this will all be clear. Watch the announcements for more information. And I hope that all of this is helpful to you as we start the course.